Why a government employees union says the director of the probation department should be held accountable.
That the trend is going towards legalizing marriage all over the country.
Same-sex marriage is the law of the land, or is it? Why a same-sex couple in Las Cruces is not worried over the Supreme Court's inaction.
We'll get ready for very cold overnight and morning temperatures. We'll take a look at your wake-up weather forecast and talk about your work week. It's all coming up in Stormtrack Weather.
What we want is our students to be able to walk out into that garden, to be able to pick the fresh produce from there and make their own salads.
Why students at one El Paso school will soon be able to grow their own fruits and vegetables and even raise their own fish. ABC-7 at 9 starts now.
Live, where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley at Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland. This is ABC-7 at 9 on the El Paso Las Cruces CW.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on air and online at KVIA.com. I'm Stephanie Valle. New information on a story ABC-7 first brought you Thursday. A call for an investigation of the probation department. It all started when allegations of an inappropriate relationship between a probationer and his officer came to light following a deadly car crash. Police arrested the former probationer, David Zavala, and charged him with intoxication manslaughter. His passenger and former probation officer, Cynthia Mendoza, died a few days after the crash, October 5th. Tonight, the union that represents government employees is leveling new accusations against the probation department, saying the man who was recently found tied up and burned in a building downtown was also under the responsibility of the probation department.
He was, in fact, a resident of that behavioral center. It wasn't until 8 days later that we see the first notice going out to the department reporting that this guy was missing. A couple of weeks later, he shows up dead and burnt to death.
The area director for the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees told ABC-7 Gerardo Luna was a probationer. Luna was the homeless man referred to as Mexican Jerry by the people accused of tying him up, beating him, then burning him, leaving his body in a basement of a vacant building downtown. Luna's remains were discovered last month. 5 people have been arrested accused of his murder.
Staff shall verify the location of the resident and their movements by personal contact or by phone contact. And that when someone is gone, that within 24 hours, the director and the facility director shall notify the administrative judge. We don't know that any of those things happened.
Greg Powell said this turn of events may have happened because employees at the probation department are not being trained properly.
It's just this whole loose, unguided, unsupervised process that's taken place at this behavior center that's risking the probationers, it's risking my officers, and it's risking the public.
The attorney representing the West Texas Community Supervision and Corrections Department had no comment on this latest allegation. Jerry Howard said he simply didn't have enough information on this particular case to respond.
The union has not come to us directly with any concrete allegation of anything.
It would have been a nice courtesy. I don't feel like she deserved that courtesy because she doesn't do the courtesy of even giving her employees proper directions, proper policies, proper procedures, proper management.
And as for the initial allegation of an improper relationship between a probationer and officer, Attorney Jerry Howard said Probation Director Maggie Morales was notified in February of this year, not May of last year, as the union has stated. He also said David Zavala was no longer a probationer at the time of the crash and added, quote, "We can't tell our employees who they can and can't see." Last week, the U.S. Supreme Court declined the opportunity to rule once and for all on the legality of same-sex marriages. Now, 30 or more states are authorizing the unions. But is there a chance the court could come back later and undo what so many assume is permanent? Well, today the New Mexico Mobile Newsroom spoke with Paul Mack and Frank Balin. They have been a couple for 33 years. It wasn't until last August they were able to legalize their commitment with a marriage license and ceremony in Las Cruces. We asked them if they fear their marriage could be declared legally invalid at some point down the road.
I don't see how the Supreme Court or any court could ever say same-sex marriages are not legal. It's a legal document. It's not a religious document. It's a legal document. And it's hard to understand why people can be discriminated against because of the person they choose to love.
The Roman Catholic bishops of New Mexico released a statement recently in regards to same-sex marriages like the one that united Belian and Mac. It states, quote, "The bishops of New Mexico recognize the New Mexico Supreme Court as the interpreter of the state constitution. The Catholic Church respects and loves the gay and lesbian members of our community. We will continue to promote Catholic teaching of the biblical definition of marriage to be that of one man and one woman," end quote. Meanwhile, a report out of the Vatican today suggests the Catholic Church is softening its stance on gays and divorced Catholics. The report follows a meeting or synod on the topic of the family. It was attended by Pope Francis and nearly 200 bishops, cardinals, and priests. New wording from the Vatican says gay people have, quote, "gifts and qualities to offer the Christian community." And church leaders discussed other issues, including the possibility of allowing divorced Catholics who have remarried to receive communion. The summit is just the first step in a process that would take a year or longer to change church doctrine or practice. And to Stormtrack Weather now. The coldest air of the season is heading our way. Should we take out the blankets tonight and dust off the coats for tomorrow morning? Stormtrack Nicole Gomez is back and live with your first forecast. Nicole, I missed you.
I missed you too. Thanks for that little intro. I am back. And yes, you'll need to take your blankets out and maybe even a light jacket because we are expecting maybe a thick jacket because we are expecting very cold temperatures tomorrow morning. But let's take a look at our lows this morning. 49 is where we were sitting in El Paso, 52 Las Cruces, 49 TRC, only 37 in Ruidoso. So notice how cool the temperatures were this morning. They'll be even cooler tomorrow morning. So again, just be prepared for the cooler temperatures. Our average high around this time of year, 79 degrees. Our high today only 74 thanks to that cold front that moved through the area today. 53 is our average low, and this morning we were sitting at 49 degrees. So we'll be cool tonight, chilly start to the morning. I'll let you know how long the cool weather is expected to stick around coming up in your full forecast. Stephanie?
Okay, Nicole, thank you. Indicted Texas Governor Rick Perry will have to appear in court October 31st. A judge set the date for a pretrial hearing today to discuss procedural issues, including whether the special prosecutor leading the case against Perry was properly sworn in. A Texas grand jury indicted Perry in August on 2 felony counts of abuse of power over a veto threat involving public corruption prosecutors. Perry's lawyers called the case unconstitutional and want it dismissed on technicalities as well. Perry maintains he was acting within his rights. New tonight, one El Paso ISD school plans on growing its own fruits and veggies, raising its own fish, and selling the goods at local markets. It's an ambitious effort, but ABC-7's Ashley Rodriguez reports the school's confident its new bio-food garden will be a success. Right, Ashley?
Yeah, Stephanie, raising fish at school. It's a neat concept, especially for Irvin High, which is a STEM school specializing in science, technology, engineering, and math. The garden is science-based and full of healthy eats, too.
An area right next to the cafeteria will have a salad bar garden. What we want is our students to be able to walk out into that garden, to be able to pick the fresh produce from there and make their own salads.
Or even pick an orange or apple for snack, while encouraging students to adopt healthy eating habits that will stay with them for the rest of their lives.
Lifelong learning.
We're going to try to build a garden so that we can actually start getting real fruit, because some of the fruits that we have are processed.
With the help of Senator Elliott Shapley, Irvin High will design that salad bar, an orchid with 200 trees, a food center and institute where teachers can tutor the students who can then serve the fruits of their labor. Then there's the tilapia aquaponics system.
Tilapia's output would be to benefit our Northeast businesses and our Northeast community. It's also a great composting material, so that compost will also be feeding our orchard and be feeding our vegetable garden.
Sometimes I don't eat school lunches here because sometimes the fresh fruit, I just don't believe them with that. But now that I know that we have a garden, I'm actually going to start eating the fruit.
Makes me feel good about the school, how they're helping the community.
The veggies will be sold at farmers markets, the fish at local restaurants, and the proceeds saved for the next year's garden. Students can earn credit and work toward industry certifications.
Our students will get to see firsthand the impact of food, not just on the culinary arts side of it, but on the science side and the medical side and everything else that goes with it.
Tomorrow evening, members of the Irvine High community can get more information at a meeting in the gym at 6. That's where the school will discuss which types of trees to plant and other details of their first biofood garden. Stephanie?
That is such a neat story, Ashley. Thank you for bringing that story to us. The militant group ISIS is inching closer to Baghdad. Why one U.S. lawmaker says it's time for the U.S. military to adopt a new strategy against the Islamic militants. Protesters in Missouri are angry over recent police shootings. What protesters did this Columbus Day. Also,
she's incredibly concerned. We're all incredibly concerned.
We now know the name of the Dallas nurse infected with Ebola while caring for Thomas Eric Duncan, the first person diagnosed with the deadly disease in the U.S. And in Stormtrack Weather, Nicole.
Tomorrow morning we will be off to a cool start. How long will the cool weather stick around? We'll have that answer coming up in Stormtrack Weather.
This is ABC-7 at 9, where news comes first.
You're watching ABC-7 at 9 on the El Paso Las Cruces CW with Stephanie Valle and Stormtrack Weather with Nicole.